Chapter 1. Forwarded Grief. By June, Seattle had stopped apologizing for itself. The sky had cleared into the kind of blue the city produced just often enough to keep people making irrational housing decisions. Pioneer Square below me was doing what Pioneer Square did best, mixing courthouse traffic with tourists, tents, startup lanyards, and brick buildings old enough to have seen several versions of the city explain itself badly. My office sat up one flight in one of those buildings, behind a door with my name on the glass and a lock that was better than the landlord knew. The elevator worked when no one needed it. The lobby directory made everyone sound more prosperous than they were, which was a useful public service. People came in frightened of the truth and reassured by typography. I had one client report open, 2 background checks waiting, and a mug of coffee that had crossed from beverage into evidence. The report was for a custody case in Shoreline. The background checks were for a boutique investment firm whose partners wanted to know whether a new hire had lied, but only in ways that affected billable trust. The coffee had no remaining legal purpose. Simon Adler's email arrived at 9:17. The subject line was, "Potential matter, shoe." Simon used subject lines the way other men used warning labels. If he wrote "quick question," the question would not be quick and probably had an indictment near it. If he wrote "potential matter," someone was already upset enough to involve lawyers but not yet organized enough to know which kind. I opened it. Reed, Bagro, was. This came through a family friend in Vancouver who once worked with me on the Soto case. She knows the mother. The daughter was living in Seattle and died last month. SPD closed it as an accidental fall. The mother is not alleging murder. She is alleging she cannot make the file and one text message coexist. I have spoken with the mother once. I did not know the daughter. The Vancouver friend met me once in a conference room 8 years ago and has now promoted that encounter into a referral chain. I am third hand on the facts at best. Tell me if that bothers you as much as it should. Simon. There were 2 attachments, a scan of an authorization form signed by a woman named Lillian Shu and a PDF labeled Mei Lin Shu, summary materials. Simon had not included the police report. Either he did not have it yet or he wanted me curious before he gave me anything with official language on it. With Simon, those were not mutually exclusive. I read the email again. Warm introductions usually arrive smelling of generosity. A friend of a friend had a problem. Someone knew someone who knew me. By the time the request reached my desk, it had been softened by enough goodwill to make refusal feel rude, which was one reason I distrusted the process. A cold call at least admitted what it was. A warm introduction came wearing other people's fingerprints. My phone buzzed before I opened the attachments. Simon. I let it ring twice, not because I was busy, because Simon disliked being made to wait and therefore benefited from the experience in small, controlled doses. Reed, he said when I answered. Adler. You got it. I got something. Whether it qualifies as a matter remains open. That is why I sent it to you, Simon said. Who is Lillian Shu? I asked. Mei Lin Shu's mother. Vancouver. Retired pharmacist, according to the friend. Precise. Not dramatic. The friend says she spent 40 minutes explaining what she did not want to accuse anyone of. That sounds Canadian. It also sounds like grief with legal instincts. Those are different billing categories. I assumed you had a form. I opened the authorization scan. Lillian Shu's signature was careful and compressed, the letters kept close together as if they might otherwise leave the page. People manage signatures differently under stress. Some grew large, trying to occupy space. Some shrank. Lillian Shu had written her name as if neatness could still serve a purpose. "You said one text message?" I said. "Yes." "From the daughter to the mother?" "Several days before the death. I haven't seen the full thread." The friend quoted the line to me. "You are forwarding me a quoted text from a friend of a mother of a dead woman." When you put it that way, it loses some of its evidentiary glamour. It had glamour. It had urgency. I clicked the second attachment. A cover page appeared first. Lillian Shu's contact information, Mei Lin's full name, date of birth, last known address on Capitol Hill, date of death, 29 years old, freelance UX researcher, moved to Seattle 18 months earlier. The summary was arranged in labeled sections, not paragraphs. Seattle address, work, housemates, recent contacts, mother's concern. Lillian Shu had prepared this for a stranger. That was the first thing I trusted about her. People in ordinary panic sent everything. Screenshots, apologies, photographs, 12-page timelines with no dates. People performing panic sent too little and called it privacy. This file was neither. It was grief forced through a pharmacy drawer, measured, labeled, trying not to contaminate the contents. "What was the ruling?" I asked. "Accidental fall down interior stairs. Alcohol involved. No charges, no active investigation." "Homicide looked at it?" "Unclear from what I have. Patrol, medical examiner, probably a detective review because of the death scene. I am working on the official file." "Working lawfully?" "You wound me." That wasn't an answer. "Yes, lawfully. Slowly, which is how you know it's lawful." I scrolled. The summary named a Capitol Hill group house Mei Lin had moved into 3 weeks before she died. It listed 4 housemates with question marks beside 2 last names. It listed work contacts by first name when Lillian did not know more. One name had its own parenthetical, Garrett Sloan. Introduced her to design group? The question mark mattered. Not because it meant Garrett Sloan mattered, because Lillian Shu knew the difference between a fact and a fact-shaped thing someone else had handed her. "Why you?" I asked. "The Vancouver friend," Simon said. "She and I were on opposite sides of a witness problem years ago. She thought I handled it decently." "Did you?" "I handled it effectively. Decency was a collateral benefit, and she had your email for 8 years. Apparently. Then Lillian Shu asks her for help. She remembers you. You remember me. That's the chain. The chain." He said it neutrally, but Simon was never neutral by accident. "You don't represent anyone in this?" I asked. "No." "Are you trying to?" "Also no." "Then why not tell the mother to request the file, hire someone local through ordinary channels, and leave me out of the third-hand part?" Simon was quiet for half a beat. Not long enough to be theatrical. Long enough to choose the honest answer over the useful one. "Because the daughter sent a text," he said. "Because the mother is not asking for someone to validate her grief. Because SPD may be exactly right, and if they are, someone should tell her that without making her feel foolish for asking. And if they're wrong, then you will become expensive. Your confidence is moving." "My confidence is conditional. I am sending you a preliminary authorization and enough contact information to decide whether you want the scope. If you do, I'll help with the file request. If you don't, I will find her someone less difficult and probably less useful." Compliments from Simon arrived with enough abrasion to pass as professional communication. I scrolled back to Mei Lin Shu's name. 29. freelance. New to the city, but not brand new. Dead in a house where she had lived 3 weeks. Mother in another country trying to reconstruct a daughter's last month through names that came secondhand. A text message Simon had not quoted yet because he knew I would ask for the source before the line. The official version might be correct. People fell. Stairs killed without motive. Alcohol made ordinary architecture more ambitious. The world did not need a murderer to be cruel. It had building codes, bad timing, and gravity. Still, send me the mother's number, I said, and the exact text if you have it. I have the quoted line only. Then send that with a warning label. Already drafted. Of course it is. Reed. His voice had shifted. Courtroom lowered, not softened. What? If this is nothing, make it nothing cleanly. I looked at Lillian Shue's compressed signature again, then at the name Garrett Sloan with its careful question mark. That's usually the problem, I said. What is? Nothing doesn't stay clean when people keep forwarding it. Simon breathed out once, almost a laugh, but not quite. I'll send the number. The call ended. His follow-up email arrived 13 seconds later. Simon had never believed in giving a person time to enjoy silence. The quoted text sat beneath Lillian Shue's contact information, introduced by Simon with the phrase, "Not yet source verified," which was why I continued to tolerate him. Lillian Shue answered on the second ring. Ms. Reed? Her voice was low and clear, with the flattened edge of someone who had already repeated the worst facts to strangers and learned which parts made them become inefficient. No one sounded natural saying the name of a dead child. The best they could do was sound prepared. Yes, I said. Simon Adler sent me your authorization. Thank you for calling. There was no relief in it, just acknowledgement. I had been added to a list of tasks she did not want and would complete anyway. Before we discuss anything substantive, I need to be clear about what this is, I said. I am not law enforcement. I cannot reopen the investigation. I can review what you have, identify gaps, and tell you whether further inquiry is justified. If there is something usable, we can talk about next steps. Simon said you would say that. Simon likes to make my conversations predictable. Good, she said. I have had enough surprises. The line stayed open. She had chosen phone instead of video after I offered both. I respected that. Video calls with grieving people turned loss into a face management problem. On the phone, a person could look exactly as ruined as they were, and no one had to pretend not to see. I am not asking you to prove something terrible, Lillian said. People often began there. It rarely meant what they thought it meant. What are you asking? I want to know if I am wrong to think one thing does not fit. Which thing? Mei Lin's message. She pronounced her daughter's name without softening it for me. Mei Lin, the hyphen barely there but present, like a hand on a shoulder. I wrote the pronunciation in my notes. Names were evidence of who had been allowed to say them correctly. I have Simon's quoted version, I said. Not the source. I can send the screenshot. Good. Send the full screen if you can. Date, time, surrounding messages. Don't crop it. I know. She said it quickly, then stopped herself. I'm sorry, she said. I was a pharmacist. I know what happens when people remove the label and then ask why the pill matters. No apology necessary. The profession fit the paperwork. Controlled, exact, allergic to unlabeled containers. It also explained the grief. Pharmacists spent years handing people instructions that mattered and watching them leave with only partial control over what happened next. A daughter in another country was the same problem made monstrous. "Tell me about Mei Lin's move to Seattle," I said. "She came for work first, a contract with a research group. Not permanent. She said Seattle was better for design work than Vancouver if you were not already inside a company." "When was that?" 18 months ago. January. She rented a room near the University District at first, then a sublet in Fremont, then the house on Capitol Hill." "How long had she been in the house?" 3 weeks. Lillian paused. 24 days. I wrote that down too. 3 weeks was how other people described it. 24 days was a mother counting. "Did you visit?" "Once. In April, before the house. She took me to a coffee place where everyone had laptops and no one seemed to be drinking coffee. I met 2 friends." "Names?" "Nadia and Oliver. I don't know last names. Mei Lin said Nadia introduced her to the Fremont sublet. Oliver brought her to a design event. Garrett brought her into the group later, I think. And the Capitol Hill house. That was through someone else. Paper shifted on her end. She had notes. Of course she had notes. A man named Garrett knew a woman named Tess. Tess knew one of the housemates. Or perhaps Tess knew someone in the house. She inhaled once, not quite a laugh. I tried to write it down. It became arrows. Did Mei Lin know the housemates before she moved in? No, not well. She said that was normal here. Normal how? Someone knows someone. You meet for coffee. They say, yes, she is good, she is fine, she is looking. Then you are not a stranger anymore. There it was again, the civic alchemy of introduction. A person entered as a stranger and came out the other side pre-warmed by someone else's judgment. Did that worry you at the time? Everything worries a mother at the time. Her voice did not change. But she was 29. She had lived alone. She had work. She was not a child because I was afraid. I let the silence stay. She had earned it. Did she sound happy in Seattle? Sometimes. Busy, lonely, but not always. She made things sound funny when she did not want me to worry. Another pause. In the beginning, she told me names. Later, she told me how she knew the names. What do you mean? At first, Nadia, Oliver, Tess, Garrett. Later, Nadia for the sublet, Oliver for the event, Garrett for the group, Tess through Garrett, House through Tess, and later freelance work through someone Garrett knew. She was interested in the connections. I thought it was her work. UX research. Yes, she studied how people decide a website is trustworthy. Forms, colors, order of questions. She said people think they are choosing, but often they are only following what the page makes easy. Lillian's voice thinned on the last sentence, not breaking, narrowing. The body saved itself where it could. When did she send the message you're concerned about? I asked. 4 days before she died. Late. She was at an event, I think, or after one. Had she been drinking? She said she had 1 drink, maybe 2. We were texting. It was not unusual. She would send me things from buses, from lines, from places where she did not want to talk to the people beside her. What was unusual? She was frightened. The word landed cleanly because she had not used it until she meant it. Did she say she was frightened? No. What did she say? Lillian did not answer immediately. The cup touched the saucer. Once. "I will send it," she said. "Ms. Shu." Ms. Reed, I have read that message every day since the police officer told me my daughter fell downstairs. I have read it at 2 in the morning and at breakfast. I have read it until the words stopped being English. If I say it now, I will say it wrong. I looked at the authorization form on my screen, at the careful compressed signature. Some people came apart loudly. Some people held so tightly that the damage became structural. Send the screenshot, I said. You don't have to quote it. Thank you. After you send it, I will ask you for Mei Lin's recent contacts. Not everything at once. Start with the people you know how to reach directly. I don't know many directly. Then start with how you know them. She exhaled, and for the first time she sounded tired rather than managed. That is the problem, she said. I know everyone through someone. My pen stopped over the page. Send me the message, I said. This time she did not thank me. Gratitude would have been another task. The email arrived while we were still on the line. I told Lillian Shu I had the email and would call back after reviewing it. Today? She asked. Today? All right. She stayed on the line 1 second longer than the conversation required. Then she ended the call. The office sounded larger without her in it. Traffic moved below my window. Somewhere downstairs the old elevator complained between floors. I let the phone sit dark on the desk and opened the email. Lillian had sent one screenshot and nothing else. That restraint mattered. No explanation in the body, no apology, no second message asking whether it had arrived. She had understood the instruction and followed it even while the instruction hurt. Some people treat evidence like confession. They hand it over and keep talking until they have told you what they need it to mean. The screenshot showed a text thread between Mama and Mei Lin. I did not open the image full screen immediately. First I saved a copy to the case folder with the timestamp preserved, then made a working copy. Habit, not ceremony. Original, duplicate, notes. People lied. Files also lied, but less inventively if you gave them fewer chances. Only then did I enlarge it. The exchange began with ordinary things. Lillian asking whether Mei Lin had eaten after the event. Mei Lin sending a photo of a paper plate with dumplings and something green that had given up structurally. Lillian telling her not to take the stairs if she was tired, which read differently after a death and would therefore punish her forever. Then Mei Lin. I think I introduced someone to everyone, and I shouldn't have. Below it, Lillian had written, Who? Then. Mei Lin. Then. Call me when you can. No answer in the visible thread. I sat back. The sentence was not long. Its brevity made it worse. Short sentences leave fewer places for fear to hide. I think, not panic, not certainty. The kind of phrase people used when they were trying to make a true thing sound less accusatory until they had proof. I introduced, not met, not found, not dated. Introduced. Active verb. Responsibility accepted before anyone asked for it. Someone? No name. A person known to Mei Lin, unnamed to her mother. Or a name she did not want on a phone. Or a name she expected her mother not to recognize. The absence was doing work. To everyone. Then wipe it out clean with your fingers and lay it aside. Then wipe it out clean with your fingers and lay it aside. They also used it when the number had stopped being countable in the ordinary way. A house, a design group, a Slack, a newsletter list, a room where one introduction became 5 more by dinner. Forms, colors, order of questions. Mei Lin had told her mother that people followed what the page made easy. A warm introduction was a page with one button, and I shouldn't have regret, maybe. Guilt, definitely. Fear tucked inside the grammar because saying afraid would make it an emergency, and emergencies demanded action before she knew what action was safe. I copied the sentence into my notes exactly as written. No correction, no brackets, no helpful paraphrase. Then I copied it again below and split it by phrase. I think I introduced someone to everyone, and I shouldn't have. The shape did not tell me who had hurt Mei Lin. It did not tell me anyone had. It told me she believed she had been a link. That was enough to make the accident less settled than it had been 5 minutes earlier. I opened a new matter file, not because I had decided the police were wrong. That came later, if it came at all. A file was not belief, it was containment. Shu, Mei Lin, preliminary review. I entered Lillian Shu's contact information, Simon's referral, the Capitol Hill address, and the dates as cleanly as the materials allowed. Then I pasted Mei Lin's text into the case notes, once in full and once broken into the phrases I had just copied by hand. The words looked worse in my system, less like a message, more like a statement waiting for the wrong person to misunderstand it. I added a note below. Scope, review accidental death file, verify source materials, map recent introductions contacts, identify whether further inquiry is warranted. No conclusion re manner of death. That last sentence mattered. Families hired people like me when grief had found an edge and needed somewhere to press it. If I was not careful, I could become a machine that converted pain into suspicion and suspicion into invoices. There were worse ways to make a living. That did not make this one clean. I wrote Lillian an email first. Ms. Shu, I received the screenshot and preserved a copy. I can take this on as a preliminary review. The first step is obtaining and reading the official file, then comparing it against your materials and Mei Lin's recent contacts. I will not be able to tell you today what happened. I can tell you there is enough here to look carefully. I read it twice before sending. The sentence about enough to look carefully was the closest thing to comfort I was willing to provide. It was also true. Then I messaged Simon. I'm taking preliminary scope. Need official file, incident report, ME report, scene photos if released, toxicology, any detective review notes, 911 CADE, body transport timeline if available. Lawful and boring, please. His reply came 3 minutes later. You wound me twice in one day. Then, I'll start with public disclosure and see what family authorization gets us faster. Do you want me to warn her about timelines? I already did. Of course you did. I looked again at the chain I had written in my notes. Lillian to Vancouver friend. Vancouver friend to Simon. Simon to me. Nadia to sublet. Oliver to event. Garrett to group. Tess to house. Someone Garrett knew to later freelance work. Somewhere inside all that warmth, Mei Lin had started counting links. I saved the file, locked the screenshot copy, and attached the signed authorization scan to the matter record. Outside, June kept being indecently bright. The city was full of people saying yes to drinks, jobs, apartments, house keys, introductions. I did not know yet whether one of those yeses had put Mei Lin Shu somewhere she did not understand, with someone she trusted for reasons borrowed from other people. I knew only that her mother had asked a clean question through a dirty system, and the system had delivered it to my desk. That was enough for Monday.